Well, with that, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another great day of racing here for day 2 and round number 8 of the Indy Karting Challenge here at the K1 circuit of Whiteland. And my name is Taylor Burris. Joined here today is none other than Justin Prince. And Justin, we're looking forward to another great day of racing action. Yesterday, we saw some incredible drivers make their way through some great racing. But now it's time to see if we can kick it up a notch and see who else can respond or continue their streak of domination from this weekend.
Yes, indeed, and good morning once again to all of those watching. Today should be an interesting day to see which of these drivers are able to come on top to finish out the weekend strong, which drivers are able to stay the most consistent here at K1 Circuit Whiteland, and better yet, which drivers are able to build upon the momentum based from yesterday. We've seen plenty of action so far this weekend, mind you, in general, with plenty of close finishes, but also many dominant runs. We'll see where today now stacks up for many of these competitors.
Absolutely. So, a little bit of a different strategy. We are going to pretty much reverse the starting lineup for today. So, yesterday we saw the 206 Cadets and the 206 Sportsmen go out first. Today, we're going to see the Micros and the Mini Swifts go out first today. And there's going to be a couple of differences that we saw also. And confirming with some of our race officials along with our team that is there at the track, it is going to be the Cadets and Sportsmen races will still be split like you saw yesterday. Today, the Mini and Micros will be a combined class as well. So a little bit different here, but I think it's still going to be some great and exciting racing for us here today as the Micro and Mini Swift drivers get set to make their way out onto the track for their qualifying efforts here today.
Yes, indeed. And yesterday was intriguing to keep an eye on a little bit when it came to the races. They had the split set up essentially for the class structure. James Fox, of course, picked up the micro win by 9 seconds in the end. But the minis had Daniel Guerra over Richard Dobbins by about 2 seconds. So we'll see if those drivers keep it up today as we are underway for qualifying.
Absolutely. There you see James Fox out there on the track along with his teammate Grayson Wyatt. The two top kart drivers definitely put on a stellar drive as they come across the line. Diesel Maxwell, the Mohawk Man, will be working his way through, looking to try to pick up a couple of extra positions. McNeely, Lazier, Martinez, Hendrickson, and of course we have the 223 machine, or the 757 machine, coming out onto the track of Christopher Heinzen, as we have 8 drivers in this mini micro combination. I have a total of 5 and 4, so 9 karts in total for this event this weekend.
That's with someone coming out onto the racetrack, indeed, to join them here. But the interesting is going to be for with this layout, it's compared to some of the other rounds we've seen this season, the reverse layout essentially that these drivers have to battle with. So it takes the passing opportunities and switches them around a little bit. If anything, your best passing opportunities here today when we go racing are going to be on that front part of the racetrack in the first half of the circuit. It's going to make things intriguing as well for qualifying. Why that is relevant is, well, these drivers will have a lot of slipstream opportunities for the middle part of the racetrack as they go up to the bank curve with how long that back straightaway is. So these drivers will have a lot of opportunities in qualifying, at least, to be able to try and build up speed if they're that middle kart in these little packs.
Absolutely, and keep an eye also with a little bit of different configuration here. We just saw them as they, instead of just cutting through that little S heading to the 90-degree corner before they hit the back straightaway, they're going to make an extra loop through there, and then of course stretching it out a little bit more through the infield section here. No major changes pretty much for the most part on this circuit as they work their way through. Just under 3 minutes to go, and it's Liat Semenelik who is leading the charge in the mini Swift category. The micros, it's still going to be Grayson Wyatt, and just as I say that, Blake Martinez to the top of the leaderboard with a 56.995.
Yeah, the time's looking pretty solid so far here for Martinez in terms of the early going. But remember, it takes a few laps for the momentum to really build up Wait, someone just put himself up to the 56 fours for reference, and they are on their own essentially in this qualifying session. For these drivers, it's going to be important to get track position, I think, overall, because you have a pretty decent split between the micros and the minis now with 10 on the track, or rather still 9 with Hendrickson still yet to record times on the pylon. But what I was trying to get towards is you have your respective groups. It's important to be able to set yourself up in a positive situation for when we go racing for the heat races later on today. Set yourself up in great track position for later.
Absolutely. Of course, like we touched on, Danny O'Gara and James Fox, the two drivers who took home checkered flags in yesterday's event. Of course, in the championship, that does shake it up a little bit. James Fox still holds on to the championship lead at this time. He's pretty much been the only driver to compete in every single round this season. In fact, the worst finish that he's had was pretty much a second place in round, or actually a fourth place in round 5. Every other event he's entered in pretty much has been first or second since he started this championship run for him. And he has about 150 point advantage over Diesel Maxwell in the micro Swift division. In the mini Swift division in the championship, as we'll touch on a little bit here after updates, it's still Blake Martinez who holds on to the championship, as he is currently has about another 50 to 60 point advantage over Liat Semenelik, who Semenelik right now currently trying to see if he can collect his first win of the season right now, and looking to be in the best shape as he currently holds the pole position with 30 seconds to go. It's him and Martinez who are at the front. Then you have Fox and Wyatt, the two drivers there who are going to could be getting the checkered flag this time by, if not next time by, for their drivers. We do have one driver who has yet to take time. That's Kason Hendrickson, who has not. He will be starting tail end Charlie in his heat race later today.
And that's going to be making things a little bit more difficult for them. But so far, Fox, not as quick as you would expect from yesterday's win in the race. Only down in second amongst the micros. Semenelik, though, jumping to the top and staying at the top of the board over Martinez and Grayson White. So far, the speed's there for the 187. Can it carry over through the races?
Yeah, that seems to be a big pickup from Liat Semenelik, who yesterday did not have the greatest of runs, looking to try to improve upon that, and looks like he found a little something for us here today in the heat races. We'll find out, but it's then going to be Blake Martinez and then Grayson Wyatt and James Fox, the two. We saw this yesterday. Wyatt was one of the faster drivers in the early morning stages, and then James Fox found his pace mid to end of race sessions here. Then, of course, Maxwell, McNeely, then Heinzen, Bolazer, and then Kason Hendrickson. Next up on the docket is the 206 senior medium category that's about to go out onto the track. And I got to say, that race was some excitement to watch, as yesterday we saw newcomer to the championship this season, Adam Maxwell, just dominate, putting on a great effort all race long, winning both his heat race and the final. He had to hold off hard chargers like Evan McCorkadale and Braden Heber, who are the two championship favorites. Throw in Levi Wilbur as well, and it was one stellar fight to the finish.
They've appeared in races, and that's why they've also missed a round in round number 4 this season. But McCorkadale was also missed a round, that being the second race of the season. So those two going to have a fun time, and Maxwell looking to keep things shaken up in the equation to be able to showcase the ability to be able to win here on this racetrack.
Well, if Adam Maxwell is to sweep the weekend here with the 2 race wins, he would only be able to move up to at least the 9th position in the championship at this moment, due to the fact that he's only competed in 1 round. But as we look at the championship overall, officially, the gap is basically 11 points between your top 2 in the championship when you count the drop rounds. And like you pointed out, it's a little bit more when you do not count with the drop rounds. It's going to be a championship everyone is going to be excited to watch between Heber, McCorkadale. Levi Wilbur is in the hunt, but I think he has to find a little bit of extra pace in order to try and make sure he finishes podium for the next few rounds in order to have a shot of taking it. As we take a look at the new sector that we're going to be doing, we're basically taking a second little double hairpin. We're coming up through here, then we head down towards that hairpin that leads us now down to the back straightaway and then up onto the Daytona banking before we hit the secondary hairpin, where we saw a lot of great passing here yesterday, Justin, with drivers really sending it in deep, getting a good run off the banking, dive it down to the inside, and then parking it to allow them to get the speed they need off corner exit.
Yeah, and today it's going to be the matter of will they be able to make the kart stick in that same section here with that extra bit of a hairpin to take away a bit of a passing opportunity. Comes a bit more of an ebb and flow type of racetrack to start off the circuit essentially once you get that little extra hairpin, but it still sets up a good opportunity for that long back straightaway. Maxwell top of the board though, starting things off with the 58.2s here. And not bad so far for the president head driver of AMAX Racing to be able to start things off strong. It's the matter of, will there be a response from Heber, who we've seen do well in this entire region, 2 different club circuits, McCorkindale, and what they're going to be able to bounce back to keep things tight amongst the top 3.
Corkadale has to try to find a way to respond. He was up at the top of the leaderboard, now losing a little bit of pace as Braden Heber, who is one of the drivers we will be watching. But Corkadale comes across the line, makes improvement to P2, doesn't make any gains as we wait for a couple of other drivers to come across the line. Justiano moving up to P5, Goldman up to P7, Maxwell improves to a 57.950, so he is finding some pace out there here this morning in qualifying with a minute and a half to go. Everyone making improvements, but so far no one able to challenge Maxwell for the pole position as we watch them work through that second hairpin.
Yeah, at this point, everyone's just making sure they get a good ebb and flow of the racetrack. Some drivers have a bit of struggles out of the final corner there with a long straightaway with that little chicane down the back straightaway. And keep in mind that little bit of a chicane setup you see these drivers that they'll have to go through before the fixed up banked corner essentially is that part of the racetrack is going to be an opportunity where some drivers may take some chances to leap their way on by side in racing conditions. It is a little bit tight to go down there. Remember some of the action about a year or two ago when calling some of the racing here, where we've seen drivers send it and have major contact at that part of the racetrack by going too deep into the corner and trying to make it stick there. So it's going to be so critical if you're going to be able to set something up here today to be smart on how you make your passes here so you don't end up having any issue or any incidents here at a track that is going to be pretty hard to pass that today.
Yeah, it is going to be a little bit hard to pass on certain points of the track, Justin, but I have a feeling from what we saw yesterday with how this track layout is, and of course just one small difference as checkered flag does come out, who gets a fast time. Heber is not able to respond. McCorkadale is not able to respond. He does not make improvements. We'll see what happens as the rest of the field comes across the line. Justiano does improve, but no gain of time. Maxwell does not gain any time. In fact, he makes the fastest lap of the race with a 58.790, his fastest lap, and he will be your pole sitter for today's action at the 206 mediums that are going to be out later on to the day. Next on the docket, 206 junior qualifying is coming up here on Kart Chaser, and as we get them set to go, we'll then see how things are looking in the championship after yesterday. Really great racing we saw in the 206 junior category, as yesterday we saw Thomas Anthony pick up his 3rd win of the season in an exciting fashion as he held off points leader Jordan Latham along with Lucien Lazier, who was really putting on a good fight with him until we saw Thomas Anthony just start to stretch out that race lead further and further after working his way through.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Anthony, 3 for 4 when it comes to finals this season. When it comes to victories, if he was a driver that ran more races, we might be talking about that driver in the championship mix. But Jordan Latham is still in a decent spot here In fact, has a significant gap over drivers like Carson Benjamin at the moment in the standings. So the championship isn't so much the biggest issue. It's just now the matter of who's going to be able to disrupt things up front. Lazier, we've seen consistently decent inside the top 4 as of late. The Kart's getting the clearance out of the racetrack. We'll see what they qualify.
Absolutely, as they make their way out onto the track. Good group of drivers here in the 206 junior category, as here they come out of the final corner to start their opening lap here for qualifying. And already Thomas Anthony will be the leader. Right there you see Laser in that bright red suit and that all blue machine as he tries to keep pace with Thomas Anthony. 13 karts here for today's action. I think we have at least one more new kart here running with us this weekend compared to what we had yesterday. So we'll keep an eye here of how it all plays out as they start their opening laps for our competitors. And there we see the field work their way out of that second hairpin into the other one before they head down the back straightaway towards the little bus stop towards here. Snake their way through before climbing the banking of Daytona and the hairpin. And as they do so, we will see the first flying laps of today here. Not really going to see major speed at this first opening lap. We're going to give it at least till lap 3, maybe 4, before we see the pole time given out for our competitors as they come through the infield section, snaking their way through. Across the front straightaway, here they come and up on the board for the opening lap. Give it to Thomas Anthony for the time being with a 59.5. That's going to pick up a little bit. We're going to at least see 58, maybe a 57, possibly by the time this race or this qualifying session completes.
Yeah, that's just about the tire temperatures getting up into the optimal window, right? As they go on, they start off where they're a little bit lower on the PSI. Have to build up those temperatures as you get the laps built up into said tires where they start to build up a heat cycle and be able to get to that prime window to be able to push. Then you have that fall out of the curb. The temperatures pick up. For a lot of these drivers, it's about being able to know how to set up their karts to match that optimal window at the right time to go for where you need it to be for qualifying. And for a lot of these drivers, that's part of the learning experience, right? In taking part in races such as this, it's a proving ground, and it's an opportunity for many drivers to develop as they look to have some fun here at a racetrack like today.
Absolutely. Second lap on the board, and Thomas Anthony still holds on to the pole position by just under a tenth of a second over Lucian Laser, who's right there behind. Latham, Klebe, and Dunn, your top 5. Max and Klebe making a big gain, picking up 7 spots after his last lap in qualifying. Really good drive for him. Looking forward to seeing what he can do as Max and Klebe currently sits P7 in the championship. Yesterday came home with a top 5 run, wanting to try to improve, and he's been making some steady improvements this season. Started off with an 11th place finish in round number 1, then a 7th, a 6th, 4th, had a little rough run at the 8th place in round 6, but yesterday moved up into the top 5 as well, so looking to make some steady ground and gains for him as he looks to try to pick up a couple of more points and break maybe into the top 5 in the championship running order.
Yeah, and it's all about pride when it comes to where you stack up in a championship overall, because obviously you want to be the champion. You want to be the driver at the top of the standings by the end of a weekend, get the chance to celebrate, get the chance to prove that you are the best out of everyone. But it's also, for many drivers here, a chance to see where your kart's at, to see where your skills are at, to be able to learn before you go to a national race, per se, and see where you stack up there. A little bit of argy-barginess in the qualifying session with some of the drivers in the lineup there. But for these types of races in general, it's all about scratching that itch of competition that you want to be able to perform and want to be able to succeed at the top levels. And part of that is being able to succeed at tracks like here and being able to know you're one of the best in your specific region as a driver to be able to get good seat time and be able to put up victories and be able to stand on that podium. So it's a building process, a part of the championship. If you're able to get yourself into a top 5 here, it's important to be able to just score points and stay focused on keeping clean races.
Oh, trouble for one kart there on the bottom of the screen we just saw coming through the infield section. It ends up in the grass as we watch this big gaggle of karts here trying to negotiate, work together a little bit here in their qualifying efforts. Checker flag in the air, and how about Lucian Laser, who then takes the pole away from Thomas Anthony with a 57.8 compared to Thomas Anthony's 57.87. Latham, your P3, Santos, Parker, Dunn round out your top 5. Really pretty much your top 3 in the running order for the championship, as well as also the drivers here who are going to be keeping an eye on are your top 3 who improved upon their lap times. I have a feeling with all those drivers that we saw before they took the checkered, just jockeying around here for a lot of things, is going to be really critical because they were messing up quite a bit. That allowed them to run out of time and lose time on their laps this past lap.
Yeah, some of the drivers having some big spread amongst the top 10 here. Drivers like Evan Patton, who's been a driver able to get up to second spot in some of the finals this season and has missed the past few rounds, down in the edge of the top 10. So way down in the order when it comes to how things have gone so far for them. That's a little bit of a shock, you'd have to say, for a team that consistently was strong to start off the season.
Absolutely. Well, next up is another multi-class group. It's the 206 Legends and the 206 Supermasters that are about to head out onto the circuit. Yesterday, we saw Mr. Brian J. Williams continuing on with his domination that he has had, picking up his 6th win of the season. Then we saw William McLaughlin taking home the Supermaster win after having a fierce fight with Danny Cutshaw till Cutshaw had an incident, and then a couple of other drivers also. Mark Kirk being one of them who put on a stellar drive, as here comes our driver out onto the track. 206 Legends and 206 Supermasters as they make their way out onto the circuit.
And for these drivers, it's, again, being able to show you're the best in your competition and being able to perform. J. Brian Williams, after all, yesterday was the overall winner out of all the drivers. He picked up the win by 8 seconds when it came to the Legends. William McLaughlin picked up the Supermaster victory by 25 seconds. And again, for these drivers, there's some of your oldest competitors in property. These are some of the parents. These are some of the team owners. These are some of the drivers that are here to just compete while being able to rest during the week. For J. Brian Williams in particular, though, he's been fairly competitive in general whenever we've seen him in these broadcasts, and he's going to be difficult to stop today yet again, even with McLaughlin setting the faster lap time out of yesterday. It's going to be interesting where things stack up.
And as we watch on, here comes, we have 7 karts. We have 4 206 Legends and 3 206 Supermasters. Chris Whitaker we have with us, Travis Wilbur in the 206 Legends as they try to catch up to Brian Williams, who sets the time with a 59.266, a good 4 or almost 5/10 of a second faster than Travis Wilbur. Stillwell trying to keep up as well, but has a little bit of work to do. We're still waiting for Tom Stevens, who comes across the line, and Chris Whitaker, your other Supermasters, as McLaughlin holds on to the pole position by over 4 seconds right now. Of course, that will change a little bit as they come across the line. They're just getting things warmed up, ready to go, get those engines ready to rock, roll, and rumble in this qualifying session. And there you see the number machine right here. I believe that is Brian Williams. We're watching as he works his way through the circuit.
Yeah, right now at this point, I'm going to be interested to see where Travis Wilbur stacks up, because we've seen Levi Wilbur be a strong competitor whenever we've seen him race. Travis Wilbur looking solid so far when it comes to the qualifying runs, just to be able to stack up overall in terms of the running order. Travis Wilbur just maintain consistency as one of the drivers that runs a lot in Supermasters and Cup Karts competition. He's appeared in as well, has appeared actually in some of the straight action that's appeared as well, that's popped up on the radar. So Travis Wilbur should be somebody that's going to provide some upward pressure here today for him, for this competition, for J. Brian Williams, should say, up at the front amongst that Legends category.
Absolutely, Justin. As we watch these drivers, there's the 712 of Travis Wilbur, keeping his way through and keeping his foot in it as he makes some improvement, but not able to really set fast time. He's still a good 0.6 of a second behind the pole time of Brian Williams. William McLaughlin still has a comfortable lead in the pole position in the Supermasters as Richard LeMasters moves up a little bit, but nowhere near. He is a good 2 seconds at least off the pole time for William McLaughlin in the Supermasters category.
Yeah, right now, I think everybody's just staying nice and calm in the session and just working in their own little groups. And sometimes that's the preference, right? Sometimes you have packs of karts working together where you have them building off draft. In the Legends of Supermasters, it's more so just about driver consistency on their own, from what we've seen. The draft isn't as much of a factor compared to, say, a KA100 in terms of where things stack up from what I've seen. So for these drivers, it's just, can you put together hot laps on your own? Can you get in that optimal window without making any major mistakes around the racetrack? These times are now starting to fall back down the time band, so I think most of these drivers have passed their optimal tire window.
Yeah, everyone here, it seems to be the case. Lap 2 was the optimal fastest lap for both Williams and Wilbur. So lap 4 was the fastest for McLaughlin here for his pole time. But I think for everyone else, it's really just a matter of just trying to just take care of their equipment, knowing we still have a heat race and then a feature to run later on this morning as Chris Whitaker will come around. He'll take the checkered flag along with the rest of the field. And across the start-finish line, let's see if anyone does improve. And just as we say that, Brian Williams goes fastest with a 58.356. Everyone else does not improve. McLaughlin improves his lap time to a 59.04. As the rest of the field will make their way around the circuit to conclude qualifying for your 206 Supermasters and 206 Legends. Next up, it is one of our big shows here tonight, our specialty shows. It is the KA Masters and KA Senior categories that are about to take to the field. We saw some drama unfold there in the closing laps of the heat race yesterday with Austin Olds and company. And then the feature race, it was a whole different ball game for our KA Seniors as drivers were just dicing and slicing their way through in order to come out on the top step of the podium. But it was AJ Lund who returned to victory lane once again as he picked up his 4th win of the season right there after he held off drivers like Dane Van Dyke and Raider Santos at the end.
An interesting field once again, getting ready to craft themselves around the racetrack here. Close up some of these sessions here in this morning for qualifying. Looks like some of these drivers taking the opportunity to just take the time before they get ready to go for qualifying here with some of these separations starting to see here on the circuit. It's been interesting where things have stacked up this morning, but these drivers getting ready for some racing just a little bit behind the paywall soon, Taylor.
Absolutely. As soon as we get done wrapping up qualifying, we are going to be taking behind the paywall. You can catch all the action from the heat races to the finals for this morning session as we get set to go racing. For only $9.99 a month, you can catch all the great American karting here across the country as we have more exciting events happening in 2025 as well as throughout just the month of August. Next week, we have the United States Pro Kart Series kicking off over there in Indiana as well as they get set to head out there at Newcastle Motorsports Park as well as also other exciting club and regional events happening throughout the month of August. We also got to throw in the factor we'll be back here again later on this season, as well as also the Motorsports Country Club Pro-Am Championship will be happening later on in the month of August. And then the big show, one of the two biggest shows of the year, it is the Miami Grand Nationals at Trackhouse Motorsports Park, and it's going to be a exciting race to see some of the biggest names in X30 competition dueling it out for a big payday as we get set racing under the lights there at Charlotte at the end of August.
An absolutely stacked schedule coming up. Once that lineup, it's going to be a fun time for a lot of competitors and a fun time for all of us here at Kart Chase to call the action coming up in the next few weeks or so, especially since the summertime is getting ready to close. That fall schedule is where a lot of these teams get ready for Supernats, for championships, for the battles for the end of their respective seasons before the winter campaigns get underway. So a busy stretch building up as we move our way through the summertime.
Absolutely. A couple of other events happening here in the month of August as well to keep an eye on is the Route 66 Sprint Series. Their fourth round of the championship will be happening as well as they will head up to Dousman, Wisconsin for their fourth round of the championship. The month of September, we got some great racing happening as well with the Stars Night Fight for the Stars Championship Series, along with the Texas Sprint Racing Series in heading down to Louisiana, to the Bayou, as they get set for their fourth round. Then the CKNA Grand Nationals, some of the biggest names that we'll see competing in 206 Briggs & Stratton competition. Follow then, we'll be back here for the Indy Karting Challenge on September the 6th for their 9th round of the championship.
Yeah, and this season seems to be shaping up to be an exciting finish when it comes to the Indy Karting Challenge potentially for the schedule. When it comes to how things could stack up for the championship amongst this 12-round campaign. And for many of these drivers, it's going to be about finishing strong as school opens back up for some of the drivers, as work starts to heat back up for some of the drivers, as those schedules for the other series heat up for all the other competitors as well, as they try and balance out their schedules. So it's going to be a fun time coming up to see what happens here, I think, in IKC competition to close out the schedule for 2025.
Absolutely. And right now, as we keep an eye on qualifying with under 2 minutes to go, it is looking to be Raider Santos with the fastest lap of the race with a 52.291, setting the pace here. In KA Masters, it is, of course, one driver competing in that. That's Joshua Nelson right now. We don't have a couple of drivers that were here yesterday as AJ Lund goes to the top of the leaderboard in a 51.9. Don't have Austin Olds competing here with us this weekend. Neither a couple of others that I'm checking on right now. Don't see Abram Dean's here today. Hudson Porter, I don't see him competing as well. And Jaden Burton also not with us here today, at least not on the track for qualifying. We may see him in the heat races. Same thing with Austin Olds, so that's to be determined as Dane Van Dyke goes up to the leaderboard right now. He picked up a win earlier this season. He won on the 6th round, which was just the 2 rounds ago for him, as he was able to sweep the day of action with a heat race win and an overall win.
Yeah, good consistency this season being showcased, I think, from 79, but also AJ Lund in general has been the one who's been able to knock off win after win so far here today. So it's the matter of, can anyone keep up with the 43 in terms of overall race speed here today? Remember, when it comes to Lund yesterday, didn't start off the best, started with a 3rd in the heat race, but picked things up to be able to close out strong on the afternoon with that finals victory. So we'll see when things really stack up amongst the two of them. They're going to be potentially the kings of the field if they're going to be able to keep up that consistency here today based on what we've seen as the checker flag waves in the session. Lund jumps to the top for now. Will that stay the case for the 79?
We'll find out here because Dane Van Dyke is coming across the line here momentarily. I don't think he did. I think he might have pulled it because I'm showing him not running on the track. Raider Santos, though, is coming around. He's going to pick up. He'll cross the line, does not improve. And AJ Lund looking to be your pole sitter for today's action. And yeah, I'm looking right now, a 53.92. Abram Dean, here comes Dane Van Dyke, a 51.75. So he does improve, but just not able to get the time that he needs to take pole position away. Well, with that, as we wrap up qualifying here, don't forget, we're going to be going behind the paywall. So for only $9.99 a month, you get to see the rest of this morning's session for today's coverage of the Indy Karting Challenge. We'll be back with the free race as well as free coverage of the qualifying sessions for the afternoon. So make sure to tune in later on today if you want to see that. But if you want to watch the heat races and, of course, the features, $9.99 a month, you get to see all the other racing action happening. That leads us to the big show in 2025, the Supernats at Las Vegas. Make sure to tune in and catch all the coverage. My name's Taylor Burris. He's Justin Prince, and we'll be back shortly for heat racing coverage live on Kart Chaser.
Brandon, why are there all these charges
stop.
for just over $200?
I'm tired of all this Brandon business, okay? Brandon this, Brandon that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
Kyle, what are you doing?
It's got my new Greyhound seat.
You don't even have a cart.
Doesn't matter. I have a Greyhound.
Who the f is Kyle Cuthbertson? Doesn't even have a go-kart.
Doesn't matter.
Cuthbertson through on Turney, Turney in the dirt.
K1 Circuit, the world's greatest outdoor karting facility, is now open. Open karting and rental session schedules are available online. Rentals will resume today after the race event at 5 p.m. Thanks to Kart Chaser for live streaming the event at K1 Circuit. Your coverage will resume shortly.
DPK Americas is bridging the gap